Alright guys, it's time for another story today because I told you guys I was going to tell this story. The last time I told this story about how I almost died, I only had 100,000 subscribers, and since then we've gained over like 220,000 new subs, so I'd imagine a lot of you guys have not seen that video. And that was also my first ever commentary, and I didn't tell it very well because it was my first commentary and I was all nervous and I wasn't used to the YouTubes. But now I know how to like properly talk and stuff, so I'm going to start telling the story. So this was back when I was 16 years old, and if a lot of you guys know me and you've been around the channel for a while, I used to skateboard a lot. That was like my entire life. And this was like right before my sophomore year in high school started, so me and a couple buddies who were getting ready to go to school, I think it was like 2 weeks before school started or something like that, but we all wanted to go downtown and go skate like in the city, like skate some stairs and shit like that, everything that was in the city. And we were out there for like 4 or 5 hours. We were out like all day because it was like the end of the summer, so we wanted to go out all day. And we were on our way back, and we were literally probably like a block away from my buddy's house who we were all going to. And my friend John had a moped, and he was riding that back just because it was a little bit quicker, and he had a moped, so why wouldn't you ride a moped if you had a moped? I used to have a moped, but I broke it. But anyway, we were on a back road coming back from downtown, and we were like a block away from my buddy's house, like I said, and I started skitching on my friend John's moped, and he didn't really know I was going to start skitching. And believe it or not, in this situation, he was the one with the helmet on. So I started holding on to his moped, and he looks back and he sees me and he's driving, and he started to go a little bit faster, and I wanted to tap him on the shoulder to like tell him I was getting off so we could like go or whatever, but I didn't let go, and he started going really fast, and I got too nervous to let go. And at this point, we were probably going like 35 miles an hour on the moped or something. We were going pretty quick. And if you guys skate or you like ride anything with wheels, you know what speed wobbles are. Well, basically, we were going like 35 miles an hour, and my skateboard started going like this, and I lost all control of my skateboard, and I was like flying in the air, and my back hit the road, and my head like whiplash, and it hit the road like really hard. And my friend Corey sounded like it's someone just dropped like a big ass rock on the road. That's what it sounded like, just a big ass thud on the road. And I don't remember like every little detail of the situation because I got knocked out, but I basically hit my head really hard on the ground because my back like whiplashed my head back like this, and it hit like with all the force of how fast I was going, and I was pretty much knocked out unconscious on the road. And I remember like a little bit of what happened, so that's what I'm just gonna tell you guys. But I remember waking up and nothing hurt or anything like that, and I like couldn't hear anything. I look up and I just see my friends like standing around me in a circle, like looking down at me because apparently I was like knocked out on the road for like an entire minute or something like that. And then I woke up, and then I remember like looking around when I stood up, and I could only see in like spots. Like everything was black, but there was like little spots all over the place that I could see. And so if I wanted to look at my friend right here, I'd have to like turn my head like this and like see out of a little spot to look at him. And they were all like freaking out. They're like, holy shit, dude, are you alright? Like, you just got knocked out. And I thought I was okay, and I got on my skateboard and I actually skated back to my friend Corey's house, and we were just sitting in his room, and for some reason I felt the need to get up, and I was gonna like splash water in my face because I was extremely dizzy and I like couldn't see straight, so I wanted to go splash water in my face to try to like refresh myself a little bit. And I tried to stand up out of my friend Corey's bed, and I just slipped and I fell, and I hit my head again on his dresser when I was trying to go to the bathroom. And then my friend's mom walked in. She didn't know we got home yet, and she was freaking out. She thought I was drunk because I was like stumbling around and I couldn't walk and I couldn't talk and shit like that. So she thought I was actually drunk, and then Corey and my friend told her what happened, that I hit my head on the road really hard and I went unconscious. So she starts shitting a brick. She calls my mom. My mom was at work, and then her boyfriend at the time, who was a complete dickbag, came and picked me up and brought me home. And I just remember like I couldn't stay awake. Like I kept falling asleep everywhere I went. Like I couldn't, like my eyes were just extremely heavy, and I just wanted to go to sleep. And then my mom got home, and she was like telling me like, oh, you can't go to sleep, I'm gonna check you out. She starts like checking me out, making sure I'm not bleeding or anything. Believe it or not, my head wasn't actually bleeding. Then I remember sitting on the couch, and I just started getting sick, so I ran to the bathroom and I started like throwing up a bunch, and my mom like instantly knew what was going on. She knew I had a really bad concussion, so she called 911 and called for an ambulance to come to my house. And it was like me, my mom called my aunt, so it was like me, my aunt, and my mom just sitting on my front porch, and I'm like throwing up off the balcony. I can't see, I can't hear, like I'm seeing in spots, I'm dizzy, I'm trying not to fall asleep. And then I remember I got into the ambulance, and I don't really remember anything about the ambulance. I think they just like hooked me up to IVs and shit. And I remember the ambulance driver telling me that I have to stay awake, and I couldn't stay awake, and I remember passing out in the ambulance. And then I woke up at the hospital that's like a little bit closer to my house, only like 15 minutes away or something like that. And I was on a hospital bed with all these doctors surrounding me, and these dudes are cutting my clothes off. Like I just had a brand new shirt. I remember I had a brand new shirt that I was wearing that day. I was psyched about that shirt, and they started cutting off all my clothes and like put me in a neck brace and shit. And then I was in like the CAT scan or the MRI room, whatever it is, where they put you through the little machine that like take an x-ray of your head or something like that. I'm probably wrong, but they were doing that. And then the doctor called my mom in because they found out that I actually broke my skull. I'm not sure what bone it was called, my skull. I think it's called the basicular bone or something. It's right on the back of my head. I broke that thing, and they actually called for a helicopter to come pick me up from that hospital and bring me to the Cleveland Clinic because my brain was actually bleeding from how hard my skull like hit my brain when I broke my skull. So my brain was bleeding, and they decided that they were gonna fly me to the Cleveland Clinic to see a brain surgeon because if the bleeding on my brain didn't stop, I was gonna have to get brain surgery. So at this point, I kind of knew what was going on, and the nurse was talking about flying me to the Cleveland Clinic to see like a brain surgeon and shit like that. And I'm coming out of the MRI thing with just my eyes wide open, and I was like shitting a brick. And then they actually like took me out of the hospital on a stretcher. I'm like in a stretcher, a hospital robe, and a neck brace, and I'm getting like boarded onto a helicopter to fly to Cleveland to get brain surgery. And that was actually my first time that I ever flew, and that was my worst flying experience ever, to be honest. So we got to the Cleveland Clinic, like the biggest hospital like around me, and they're running all kinds of tests on me, and like all these doctors, and like there was like so many people around me the entire time, and it was scaring the shit out of me. Like I'm over here thinking I'm gonna be brain dead and stuff like that because there's so many doctors around me talking about brain surgery, talking about how my brain is bleeding, I broke my head. But thankfully, by the time that they were like double checking all the tests there at Cleveland, my brain actually stopped bleeding and I didn't need brain surgery, which is great because if I had to get brain surgery, I probably would not be making YouTube videos right now. But they basically told me I got extremely lucky that the bleeding on my brain stopped and that like my skull didn't like go into my brain or anything like that, because I would have probably been like brain dead or even dead right now. So I just had to stay at the hospital for an extra couple days, and I remember waking up and like my extended family's like at the foot of my hospital bed, like people I don't see that often were at the hospital. That is definitely like the scariest experience of my entire life, and I guess you guys should probably just like wear helmets when you're doing shit because it's not worth it, because I almost died. But I mean, if all that didn't happen, I wouldn't be making videos or live streaming or anything like that. So it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like a good thing that it happened, but I mean, it turned out to be one of the better things in my life because I have all this now. Because before any of that happened, like I didn't even own an Xbox. I never played video games. I was like not interested whatsoever in video games, but I broke my skull and I wasn't allowed to skate for a really long time because my head was broken. So a couple of my buddies at school just told me to buy an Xbox because I couldn't do anything else after school. So I just started playing video games with them and I got really into it, started watching videos, and then started making videos, and now I'm doing this for a living. That's kind of crazy how that happened. And thankfully there was like no long-term like troubles for me breaking my skull. I mean, the only thing I really struggle with is my memory. Just my memory sucks ass. I mean, I got extremely lucky and I'm just happy that there's no like extremely like crazy permanent damage that happened to me. So kind of ended up working out for me because now I have all this stuff to do every day. So wear a helmet, kids.